Hello, everybody. We'll get started in a few moments. I posted a link to our agenda in the Zoom chat. So if you could, mark your attendance. And if you have any items you wish to discuss today, please add them under the open section. How's everybody doing this exciting December 6th?
Gold.
Wow, that's a huge whiteboard. Very nice. I have whiteboard envy.
Yeah, we got a lot of ideas, so.
We'll just give it one more minute before we start, folks. Please mark your attendance in the agenda and add anything you want to discuss today. We have an administrivia packed episode today. And if anyone's here representing a sub-project, if you have any updates you want to share about your project, please go ahead and type those in the project updates section, and we can discuss them if interested. If you don't have anything, that's cool. Everybody has a lot going on. All right, let us begin. Welcome to the December 6th and last working group call for this year. Do we have anyone that is new to this group that wanted to introduce themselves to the team?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Rosaria Carr. I am definitely new to the team. I work at Indeed. I've taken on a new role at Indeed in the open source program office, working as a conduit between the office, the open source foundation, security foundation, and our security team. So I've been making my way through a lot of these working groups, trying to just get an understanding of the strategy and what the teams are working on. So it's nice to meet everybody, and thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to the best working group. All right. Do we have anyone that is interested in helping scribe notes for us today? Oh, thank you, Dan. Appreciate that, sir. All right. If you have any opens you would like to discuss with the group, please add those in the open section. As a reminder, this will be our last call for the year. We will start back up bright and early in the new year, January 3rd. There will be a new Google document that will be our meeting notes. So I will update the Slack channel sometime in the next week or two to reflect that. So you always can look at the top of most OpenSSF Slack channels. Pinned to the top is typically meeting agendas and Git repos and stuff. So I'll update that, and we will start off with a brand new set of meeting notes next year. Because if you have too many edits in a Google Doc, it goes crazy. All right. Do we have any of our sub-projects that wanted to provide any updates to the group?
Maybe very short. SKF, we rolled it out a couple of months ago. We still see that we have around 110 unique registrations per week, so that's pretty okay. I also see a lot of universities actually enrolling and using it. with like masses, like a whole class. So they bump up the average per week. Yeah, and other than that, we're already, like we said, building and preparing for the next steps of the platform and the releases. So actually, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that is it.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. And any questions for Glenn about SKF and what's going on there? All right. I don't have
Sorry,
the.
I didn't unmute in time. Can I just ask
Please.
what specific universities are there? Would there be if there are specific universities or university courses that are using it, could it be an opportunity for additional outreach? Like, could we get a OpenSSF affiliated person to do a a guest virtual lecture or something like that, or is there anything else that we could do? I'm just wondering if there's any more specifics or that you could share around the
Yeah, I see like 5 or 6 unique universities that are using it. They seem, I say it, oriented to more the technical side in terms of universities. But yeah, I think we should probably in the beginning of next year in January somewhere, just reach out to them and see if we can, do like a guest lecturing or something like that. I mean, probably Sel from her plan also has some ideas for that as well, I think, for the AD plan, but sounds good. Sounds very doable.
And that's actually a task I would like us to work on, aside from picking up potentially a new project to collaborate on. I would like us to think about how we can increase the utilization of our existing sub projects, how we can increase our reach of the best practices group in general. So maybe we can brainstorm on that a little bit January next year to think about. And I like the idea of trying to reach out to these universities and see if they would like some additional expert time. Any additional questions for Glenn about SKF?
I heard SKF and I just joined.
That's right, like Beetlejuice. We said SKF 3 times and Randall pops up. Or Candyman or Rumpelstiltskin, whatever. Insert crazy mythical character. All right. To give this working group an update on the education SIG, we are in the final stages of refining the education plan. There is a link there. Ideally, we will get everything complete this week. Oh, it's so nice to see Randall on video. We will get everything complete this week, send out to the working group and the education SIG for a 2-week comments official period. And then it will get pushed to the TAC, and that'll probably hit January, I would assume. So like that first week of January is probably when we would push the plan to the TAC and then eventually the governing board. So please, if you have any feedback, we are most successful in incorporating that if we get that now, soon. Glenn.
Yeah, I just noticed that our PR is still in draft for section 2, actually. So
right, Randall.
That is not a good thing.
Yeah, in fact, Croak, could I grab you after this meeting and give you a quick update of what's going on?
Well, you can talk to me. I don't want to be manhandled, sir.
Fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool.
So please, best practices working group, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, please look at the plan, give us your thoughts, either in an email, in a PR, in an issue, depending on kind of what form that feedback is in. So we can get that acted upon before we kind of lock it down this week. Any questions about the education plan? All right. 3 items of business I would like to discuss. First off, issue 103. I see many smiling faces here on the call, but I don't see a lot of comments on my issue. So potentially, maybe at the end of this call, those of you that are longtime attenders, which is most everyone here, please review issue 103, read the charter, express if you approve or agree with it, or if you have any feedback on changes. Also give us that. I would like to get that wrapped up by tomorrow so that we can officially tell the TAC we have adopted the charter, and they will get off my back about paperwork, which would be dandy. Randall.
There are some syntax errors on the charter. Do you want me to just fix them?
Yes, you may.
Okay, they're on all of the repos, like that last line that I pointed out.
You probably let me find. I think there's an issue up at the TAC repo, so let me find that issue there. So that way, the foundation probably could push an update out across the board. So we can talk about that after you don't grab me. Dave.
There were a number of email responses, plus wanting the the charter. Do you want anyone who is sent a +1 an email to also comment on the issue?
I'll take a look at those emails, but I see that Glenn and Randall both they were good citizens of the working group. But we will. I'll take a look at that, and I will drop that in myself to express that. But if you're bored and you have a minute, feel free to do it yourself. Dan.
Yeah, I didn't want to be unhelpful, and I do definitely want to be a good working group citizen. So my instinct was to press the yes, I vote for the thing button. But I just wanted to understand the context just briefly. How often are these charters renewed? Is this a 6-monthly thing? Does it go
Right
to
now,
the TAC? Okay.
Today is never.
Okay.
In the future, ideally, it's going to be like an annual review process.
Okay.
That the TAC is going to go through,
And-
look at each working group, and make sure all the paperwork's in order. But
So-
right now, we're on the
and-
naughty list on the TAC for not having this done.
Are all of the other charters as like my point that I tried to make in GitHub or not in GitHub in Slack was the part of the charter that actually describes what the working group does is fairly small. Is that intentional on your part? Like, I guess I'm used to charters that kind of prescriptively list out these are the things that these are the deliverables the working group will provide. But if that's not, I just wanted to check and understand kind of what the zeitgeist is around charters in OpenSSF before I press the yes, I'm happy.
So the charter is a copy, a clone of from the TAC repo where it was provided across all working groups. So it is intentionally generic. The working group has the ability, if they desire, to make modifications. But my job is not prints of paperwork. So I have not invested a lot of energy into that. I've tried to invest more energy into things like the plan, helping promote our subtools like the badges and SKF. So if the team wants, we are welcome to add more meat in there, but it is intentionally generic right now.
I guess the question is there some kind of governance reason for having a more prescriptive charter? I guess my example that I give is like in W3C working groups, you want things to be listed in the charter because there's an IP commitment that is made on the part of participating parties that only extends to the things that are actually listed in the charter of the group. So that's why you want to have the things listed in the charter. But I'm gathering that we don't have that you don't have a similar restriction here. It's really okay. Yeah.
We don't have a similar restriction, and this foundation is not as mature as other foundations. So if it adds value for us, that's something, again, like I mentioned to Randall, let's try to fix it everywhere instead of just our repo. So if that's a suggestion you think is valid, let's push that up to the TAC and state,
Unless it solves a
the TAC to be-
problem. Unless it solves a problem, I don't want to introduce. I'm not saying it because I want to introduce more
Yeah.
process.
But if it adds value,
clarity, just wanted to achieve clarity.
yeah.
Okay.
No. Any additional questions or comments? We're typically not a administrative paperwork heavy organization, but this is one of the things that the foundation requires is having an approved charter, and it's as detailed as the working groups or SIGs would like it to be. But you're required to have like a mission, and I think that's really the only big requirement I had to put in there, like what our mission is. All right, so please review the charter if you have feedback. If it applies just to us, great. If it applies to more broadly the foundation, I can get the right PR or issue for everybody to comment on up at the TAC level, so it gets fixed across the whole foundation. All right, our next item, let's flip topics. Let's talk about issue 93. That should be a little quicker. There was a suggestion that we add essentially a statement in our collateral, specifically the concise guides, that PRs are welcome. We love patches. We love contributions. So does the group agree this is something we think is good? And is anyone interested in submitting some PRs to across our different items to make that a reality? I think it's a great idea because I would love more external contributions.
I agree. And I volunteer to do them per request.
Thank you, Marta. You're the best. Any other comments about it? All right, that was quick. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Randall. 2 thumbs up. So that's 4 of us that like it. All right, let's talk about issue 102. This was submitted by Noam about one of our previous working group call. And based off of our history, where we do concise guides and kind of best practices literature, he suggested it might be a great project for us to collaborate on together around GitHub security best practices. And I want to echo Daniel's comment. I can't recall if it was in the issue or if it's in Slack. We will not create an artifact that specifically endorses a vendor or a ecosystem. So we would probably change this topic to source code repository best practices. And then we can definitely showcase some of the tools that are available in GitHub or GitLab as exemplars, but we don't want to be seen as completely endorsing a particular only one vendor. We want to try to remain as neutral as possible. Randall.
I'm aware that Madison, I believe, has something like this already started for GitHub.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So maybe we could talk to her at some point.
And what was that name again? You cut out just briefly.
Madison.
Oh,
the
Madison
security lab. Yeah, exactly.
Madison's great.
I've been talking to her about the cert too.
Awesome. Madison's awesome.
Yeah.
We need to pull her into here too.
Yeah, she's been trying to get back in, but she says that she's juggling a lot.
Day jobs. So that would be another tactic, is that as we are talking about at more of a principle level, you should do these specific techniques. We definitely can reference out to existing materials like the GitHub document And Madison in particular was extremely helpful in some of our vulnerability disclosure working group efforts. And typically the GitHub people are very, also very, very vendor agnostic. Dan.
Yeah, just to echo, I don't know, just to clarify, so my initial response was yes and, right? So because I'm like, okay, yes, sounds great, and it's not just other other source code or management systems, but also within those systems, like for instance, we had this, I referenced it, we had this discussion around Dependabot, right? So if GitHub or whoever has a particular solution that they have, and there are other possibly OpenSSF members that have competing solutions, then we need to be very careful about what we say, because on the one hand, we don't want to be telling people to do something that's overly complex. We want to give people a good, simple way to do what the best practice is. On the other hand, we really want to be making sure that people are aware that other options exist, and we don't want to unnecessarily push. If one vendor has one particular approach, other people in the ecosystem might have a different idea about how they're about how to do things best in their in GitHub, right, or in GitLab or whatever. So so anyway, that's the kind of nuance of the vendor neutrality thing that I wanted to bring to bear.
Yeah, and so for an example, if we all agree that using Dependabot is the best practice, we would want to rephrase that into thou should use dependency management tools that check for known vulnerabilities and whatever else the Dependabot features are, and more generify it. And then at the end, you could say an example of this behavior could be GitHub's Dependabot or GitLab's blah, or commercial tools that do X or Y. Yeah, and I do agree. When we did the concise guide, we came to a fairly good comprehensive neutral statement around that, so we can follow that pattern. So we have a couple people that think this would be a great project to collaborate on. Any other opinions that people would like to express around this? Glenn.
Yeah, I think I said this before. I would indeed rather, reference to open source capabilities that do the same, maybe not that well, but the same concept, same idea, because, what you don't want, I guess, is, create a whole lot of words and documents that is very abstract and, you're not really helping them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, if anywhere we can. So if our best practice around source code management is to turn on multi-factor authentication, we would want to provide links to the actual technical documentation on how to do that across the main implementations. So we're not going to rewrite like GitHub or GitLab or the other repos documentation for them, but we would say, if you use these, here's how to quickly get in and configure this particular principle. Are there any dissenting opinions on this potentially to be a next project for us? Any counter proposal, or does somebody not like this idea?
Well, the only thing is, if you go to the link, of course, what the guys already did in terms of the tool and the documentation they wrote. I mean, okay, it's very GitHub centric, but I think like a lot of these concepts should actually, or can be one-on-one even copied for all the other code repositories. So how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to extend their documentation or content, or are we going to copy theirs and we make our own source of it? Or, I mean,
That's a detail we'd have to work out. I would prefer, if they're going to donate this, like Google did with the vulnerability disclosure guide, we would need to strip out all of the corporate links from legit security, and we would need to kind of rewrite it as the OpenSSF if they're going to donate it. If it's just a reference input, if it's just a reference for us, we definitely can make our own statements based off of it if we like this structure and the pattern they're using.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I just skimmed through it and it seems like, I don't know, 60-70% looks like reusable for other code repositories as well. So yeah, then we need to clone it. And well, I don't know. So yeah, it's interesting, but I'm more curious than in how the setup would be. But yeah.
Well, and it's also a different style than our other documents. And that, maybe this is a style we want to, an HTML style view as opposed to just kind of a generic text file. That's how we've typically done things. We may wish to adopt this style.
I think on style and readability, sorry to cut the line then. I think this makes way more sense and it's easier to digest actually, but that's me, but I don't know what the rest thinks. It also looks a bit more professional.
So we may need some contributions from some smart HTML developers to help us set this up for our other guides as well, if we'd like this. Yeah.
I just wanted to put my hat in the ring as a co-editor, or if you need editorial help on this is I'd be happy to be designated as a co-editor.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I'm not sure that I'm super sure at how this differs from the concise guide for developing more secure software. Like, is it an elaboration of it? Is it because we just said it's not GitHub specific, right? So we took that part out of it. So how would it differ?
The concise guide is more of a general kind of a checklist. This would be, if you have this problem, as a developer, I need to use source code management tools. This would be kind of addressing that particular problem. So it would be, and I would say we would want to go back and adjust our concise guide once this is ready to say this whole section of source code management refer to this new artifact. So it's complementary. I don't think it replaces.
Okay.
And we potentially could take this approach that all of the problem patterns that the concise guide is trying to address, we could provide more detail, another level of detail if we wanted to in the future. Any additional thoughts or comments? All right, so it sounds like the group agrees, and this will be a work item we pick up. If anyone has any other projects that they're interested in kind of working on with this group, having this group be steward of, please file an issue, send the mail to the mailing list so that we can get that your thoughts talked about as part of the group. And then just as an FYI, if the education SIG, it gets a funding for approval to move forward, there's going to be a substantial amount of, hey, we'd like some help requests coming through from that group, kind of talking about security education tasks, looking for more information or kind of helping create content. Georg.
Yes, a question. There was, or there still is, the C++ hardening guide document listed in the repo, listed as incubating, and even though I haven't attended like every meeting here, unfortunately, it seems to be dormant. I was wondering about the state of this, because I do have some conversations with folks internally. Of course, like every larger organization has C++ hardening guides. They kind of were interested in maybe picking this up. No, I'm not picking this up. This sounds too much like a commitment, but we were having discussions around this, right? So I'm really just curious as to, did that just run out of contributors, or was there like an agreement that this is not going to be pursued?
So we had a meeting, it's been a couple months back now, where we talked about this, and the group agreed this is something that would be useful, and we had several people that were interested in contributing to. But I think our blocker right now is Mr. Wheeler's time. He's been the primary steward of this, and he's been just crazy with travel and whatnot. So this is definitely something the group wanted to do. And we absolutely can do multiple things in parallel. As you can see, we have the badges and the training and SKF and scorecards all kind of operate independently. So if there was a group of people that wanted to work, contribute on this, there's nothing stopping you. And overall, the group thought it was good. It's just a matter of kind of finding out who the other collaborators would be.
Okay,
like,
cool.
I think Marta said she wanted to help. And I know that Intel has some stuff.
Okay, yeah, maybe then.
And just so you know, David did add me as admin to the document as well, because I was going to add some stuff as well.
Okay, cool. Good. I was just a little wondering or concerned if like there might have been a consensus saying like there are already like tons of guides out there. There are a couple out there, right, that do similar things. But I think there's still value in that, because I haven't seen like well, I think it would be good to do that. So I will continue the conversations with the folks internally, and then hopefully come back to you guys. Really just curious as to the state of this. Okay,
and
thanks a lot.
Feel free to write a comment on the issue saying, hey, I'm interested in collaborating here. And ideally that'll inspire some other folks to also kind of chime in, and then we can organize asynchronous meeting or a Slack chat. We can figure out some way to organize and get that project move forward.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Dan.
Sorry if this is from left field. You mentioned scorecards, which just reminded me that I was wondering if the question of adding a test to see if there's a code of conduct was ever discussed in the context of the scorecards, because I recently found myself doing a series of scorecard tests on a number of different repos and kind of reporting back on. So I was actually using the tool internally to evaluate and send some information to somebody. And I found myself doing that and then also looking to see if there was a code of conduct. And I was just wondering if it had ever been discussed, or if it was, kind of, is there an opportunity to have that discussion within the scorecards substream where that kind of thing? Yeah.
I am not aware of what the inventory of all the current checks are, but that group is very open to suggestions and refinement of their checks. So I think that would make an excellent PR for them. It should be fairly simple check to add in. Do you have a code of conduct file in your repo, or is there any kind of reference to that? So that should be programmatically fairly simple for them to add. And historically, Laurent and Azim, they aren't regular attendees, but they show up a couple times a quarter. But I would either submit a PR to this in the scorecards repo about it, or I would shoot a note to their mailing list. They're very open to feedback and suggestions. And they meet Thursdays. It would be very late for you and anyone in Europe.
Yeah, this is part of the problem. Yeah. Okay.
Because they're like mostly California based. But
I'll shoot them a I'll raise an issue, or I'll take a look at their issues list and I'll do something.
Yeah, an issue probably would be most appropriate. And again, they're very respite. I've sent them an email, and within a half hour, I've gotten a response from them. Because Intel was very interested in trying to see how we could, the corporation, work with the scorecard team. So I made a love connection between that project and my internal folks. So very responsive guys, gals. Not as responsive as SKF, but that they're a close second. All right. Does anyone have any other business we'd like to discuss today? Any comments? All right. Well, I thank you all today for your time and attention. Excellent dialogue. Looking forward to moving a couple of these projects forward. Very excited to see what comes in the new year. So enjoy the end of the year holidays, and we will see you all at the beginning of next year in 2023. So thanks all, and cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Do you want to hang on, Randall?
Yeah, we hang on.